Are you experiencing memory loss or is this a spiritual upgrade? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. I'm Nancy Rebecca. I'm a retired registered nurse after 25 years, but I have now, for the last 30 years, have worked as an intuitive psychic healer, teacher of psychic development, and all kinds of other mystical, magical things. So this is the question that's been coming up a lot. Am I experiencing memory loss, or could this potentially just be a spiritual upgrade? Is this ascension symptoms? So have you ever noticed or found yourself in the middle of a sentence and suddenly your mind goes blank? Or you walk into a room and you're standing there and you're like, why did I even come into this room? Well, I've been hearing this question a lot lately where people really want to know, is this something I should be concerned about? And because I have that background as a nurse, but I also have the background of looking at the human energy field, and both answers can be true. So, is this happening to you? If it is, you are not alone. And today I'm going to offer a different look at what might be happening and what might be really going on. But before I get started, I just wanted to mention that there were several of you where you said you found it so distracting that I looked down at a piece of paper. And I just want to let you know, I've been making YouTube videos for about 6 or 7 years now. I've tried everything. I've tried that little, taping my notes up on in front of me. I've tried, what is that little, where it scrolls and then it gets scrolling too fast and you can't keep up with it, or you want to add a story, but you can't stop it. So I've tried a lot of things. So apologies, but this is the best thing that works for me right now. And if anybody else has any great suggestions about how I can do it otherwise, I am totally open to that. All right, so let me get back to the topic. Am I experiencing memory loss, or is this a spiritual upgrade? So, what if these memory slips, these time blips, aren't a problem to fix, but a sign that you are transforming? What if your soul is truly going through a spiritual upgrade and your human mind is just simply trying to catch up? Well, there was this moment just after I returned from Egypt where I found myself sitting at my desk. I had opened up my calendar. I had my notepad next to me so that I could do a quick review of what I was committed to do in the weeks to follow. It all looked unfamiliar, like my calendar belonged to someone else, like it didn't belong to me. The appointments, the task, it felt like someone else's life. I had just spent days immersed in sacred temples and wrapped in frequencies that were so high and so holy at the time that time itself felt suspended. There were moments in Egypt when hours passed like minutes, or other times when a few steps inside a stone chamber stretched into an eternity. Coming back to normal time, or what I call calendar time, felt like I was putting on a tight coat that just didn't fit anymore. Can any of you relate to that? And even on the trip of 33 of us, I would ask someone, what did we do again this morning? And they would like, I don't know. And then we both turned to somebody else. What did we do this morning? And so clearly we weren't having memory issues. There wasn't any issue with our brain, but we were in an expanded state of consciousness that seemed to interfere with our ability to take in pinpoint details. So that's when I realized I wasn't just dealing with jet lag, I was recalibrating. My consciousness had shifted. And with that shift came a new relationship to time, to my memory, to my ability to be present, fully present in my own life. So, why memory loss could possibly be a sign of awakening? Well, let's look at this from both the perspective of science and the spiritual lens. So, neuroscience tells us that our brain is incredibly adaptive. When we meditate, when we tune into intuition, or experience deep emotional healing, our brain rewires itself through the term that's called neuroplasticity. Now, I heard this word probably about 10 years ago. And it was about to stretch outside your boxes, to do things that you normally don't do. If I just turned left at the end of my block instead of right, then that could literally shift my brain. I remember a fellow hospice nurse told me something really different, where she said, when I leave the office, I choose a completely different way to go home every single day. I don't choose the same exact way because I want to keep my brain on its tippy toes. So, in that neuroplasticity list, one of them was taking dance lessons. And so I took dance lessons because it would be like, all right, you're going to move back and forth on your feet, but you're going to step forward. If you're dancing with a partner, you're going to interact and engage, and your mind is constantly having to shift. Well, if we are constantly shifting with different frequencies, different sounds, different sights, different knowingness, different portals awakening, different dimensional shifts, then we are expanding in our neuroplasticity. There is this sense of rewiring that's going on, and yet our mind, our brain, our way of thinking hasn't caught up with it yet. So, in that neuroplasticity, we literally form new neural connections, new circuits that prioritize presence, compassion, and soul awareness that override your old fear patterns and your survival stress. So, it's a good thing. In that rewiring process, you may find that your access to your short term memory wobbles just a little bit. It's not your brain that's broken, it's that your mind and how you see the world is being reoriented. Spiritually, this is called a consciousness upgrade, or you can also call it an ascension symptom. You are shedding old identities, ego patterns, belief systems, and your inner compass begins to point inward towards something higher, something deeper, more meaningful, something that's more authentically true. And sometimes part of the journey includes a temporary forgetting. Not because you're losing yourself, but because you're actually releasing what no longer belongs with you, that you are not supposed to carry forward into the next chapter. And times are changing. So are you. Just like the one of my previous videos about feeling really strange right now. Many of us are experiencing time and it just doesn't seem to move like it used to. Days can blend together, weeks feel like moments. A single hour can stretch on forever when you're in a high frequency state. And this is more than just distraction, it's a shift in your dimensional awareness. So I was teaching class a couple of evenings ago, and it was really interesting. I'd given the students an assignment, they were in the breakout rooms. Time seemed to flow pretty normally, but when they went into the breakout rooms and they were given a 20-minute time span to do the exercise and come back, what felt like to me at my body level as I was making notes on something else, and I went, well, that feels about like the 20-minute time frame is up. And I looked up at the clock and it had been 3 minutes. And so I went, huh. So I went back to working what I was working on, and I was like, well, this is clearly 20 minutes now. Went back to look, it had been about 9 minutes. So, yeah, something's happening there, but it can make you think like, am I losing my So you're not alone in that. So when we enter higher frequencies through meditation, grief healing work, spiritual pilgrimages like I took to Egypt, or soul activations, the structure of linear time begins to soften. So time is going through this kind of softening period. And also, the dimensions are going through a softening, meaning the veils are getting thinner and you're able to shift in and out of other dimensions much more easily, where time truly takes on a different meaning. So, you're not only changing how you perceive time, you're beginning to live beyond it. In that space, the future and the past become fluid, and in some cases, they can seem to overlap. You may sense what's coming before it even arrives. You might forget something not because it wasn't and isn't important to you, but because your soul already learned the lesson. Been there, done that, have the t-shirt, and your soul's already moved on. So there was another experience with students. I'd never experienced this before with students teaching for 30 years. And if they hadn't randomly said this at 3 different points at different times when I was teaching, so they weren't all in the room comparing notes, where they had an event where in that event, as they were intuitively examining it, the event seemed to rapidly change before their very eyes. It was as if there was an image of a person that changed to another person that changed to another person. So I thought that was kind of a one-off experience. Well, then I had another student later mention the same exact thing, and another student later who mentioned the same exact thing. Completely, one's at the beginning of the day, one midday, one at the end of the day. So the sense that I had, it would be like me having a cup of coffee with you and just sipping my coffee while I watch your face change very rapidly. What I realized was that it's like we're being able to see not just the person in front of you, but the 10 lifetimes that you shared with them before. Does that make sense? Like, I know it shouldn't make sense, but it's like, oh, you were a man in that lifetime. Oh, you were a woman in that lifetime. Oh, I was your sibling, or oh, I was this, or oh, I was that. Like, but it's just rapidly boom, 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 boom. Well, that's enough to shake up anybody's mind. Like in the old cartoons where you shake your head and it's just like something, marbles rattle around in there. So in that space, the future and the past can become fluid. So that's what I was trying to say, which I don't think I was saying very well. And again, you may sense something before it even arrives. You might forget something not because it was important, but because your soul's already... See, there we go. I just read the same exact sentence. Okay. The other thing you may be going through is ego shedding. But this is the biggest thing that I'm sensing, is your identity is being realigned. And I've mentioned this in several videos lately, talks that I've been giving about how it's almost like our molecular structure is expanding, rearranging itself. The same exact molecules and atoms are coming back together again at that cellular level. It's just moving back together, and again, that's in a way that's more efficient. And so let's say that you've had an upgrade in the engine of your car. It's flowing much more efficiently. But let's say that you're used to driving your car all the time, and every time it hits 30 miles an hour, there's a backfire of the muffler. So you're expecting that backfire. You're still kind of hardwired for how your car ran before, that it's almost like you interfere with its ability to run efficiently and effectively with the new engine. Okay, so another reason is a memory fog. You might be in a phase of ego shedding, and that means the old you, that part of you that was shaped by survival and trauma or shoulds, is now stepping aside. And in that in-between space, it may feel like a part of you is falling away. but they're falling away so the new, most authentic, true you can rise out of the middle of it. So when this happens, your old reference points disappear. What mattered before no longer seems to matter. People you once resonated with, suddenly they feel really distant to you. And even the way you thought feels different. Like it's just a shoe that you've outgrown. You just can't even put it on your foot anymore. So this can bring you this deep feeling of, I don't know who I am anymore. But what I'm going to tell you is it isn't a crisis as much as this kind of spiritual chrysalis that's emerging, that's growing into something beautiful. You're not losing your memory, you are remembering your soul. Now, let me just put on my kind of my medical nursing hat as well, because I do have a couple of family members that have truly gone through lots of testing and truly are having effects of their mind that is a true physical issue that requires them to go to an additional level of maybe taking supplements that their doctor recommends. So one of them was a vitamin B deficiency. And once they started talking to their doctor about getting their vitamin B levels leveled out, their frontal lobe could work more effectively. And then another family member that I have, it was like increase the omega-3 fats, add more fat to your diet. But really, they really calculated out and figured out diet-wise, seeing a dietitian, how do they do that in a way that they can add healthy fats to their diet that can help the brain to work more effectively. Now, I'm sharing those stories with you, not because you're to run out and get omega-3s or vitamin Bs, but it is about that, yeah, it might not be ascension symptoms. There might be something else going on. But I've heard from other people who've had forgetfulness issues and they go in and had scans and all kinds of stuff, had lots of tests, and have found absolutely nothing wrong. And if you're that person, I'm talking to you. Okay, so what can you do to support yourself during this shift? Well, if you're resonating with all of this, here are some few gentle things that you can do to support yourself, support your body and your mind through these upgrades. Rest more than you think you need to. Integration takes energy, so you want to be gentle with yourself. So when I was in South Africa and I went through Sangoma training, part of the training is if I'm going through the lessons and suddenly I'm feeling sleepy, they would much prefer that I lay down right then and there and I let my body sleep. And they go on about their business. And you will see the shamans, the medicine people there, they will do exactly that. They'll just curl up in a ball and they'll just go to sleep, and they'll wake up and just start dancing and joining the party again and celebrating and the meals and things like that. So they don't have the same kind of rules and regulations around sleep like we do. Like some people think, no, I can't take a nap. I need to stay awake. I shouldn't take a nap. Or others, it's like, I can't get under the blankets. If I'm going to sleep during the day, I have to stay on top of the blankets. Like, what kind of rules do you have around sleep? So integration takes energy. So even if you need to sleep or just close your eyes for even 5 minutes, it's like a miracle what can happen. Write things down. Keep a journal of soul nudges, your dreams, even daily plans. It helps you to bridge the spiritual with the practical, because your mind and your brain can be rewiring. It can be expanding in light. We're creating the light body, but it's like I've heard from a lot of you that are saying, it's hard for me to stay on track and keep the tasks going that I need to get done. So you can write those down, also journal things. Ground every day. So I have free grounding meditations on my website, intuitivemind.org, but you can go out into your yard in your bare feet, sink in the earth, drink a lot of water, breathe into your belly with meditation. This will help. Grounding helps anchor your light into your body. And then talk to your spirit about what are you learning? Like, talk to your higher self. What are you learning through this forgetfulness? Let your inner voice speak to you. And we have a great community where you can come and you can make comments about what you've been noticing, or maybe you found ways that help you integrate some of this kind of mind integration. You can post that, in the comments as well. Don't feel like you are alone going through these shifts. So just take a nice deep breath in and let yourself feel that breath. Let your shoulders relax. Just let your body relax. And just remind yourself, I'm not broken. I'm becoming. And I trust the wisdom and the higher levels of knowledge that is already within my own soul. And I give myself permission to not know, so I can finally remember who I truly am. So I invite you to share this message with anybody else that may be experiencing some forgetfulness. Now, remember, as a nurse, I'm not saying this is exactly what's going on, but if you've been checked out by your medical team and they're not finding anything else, then it just might be that you're going through a spiritual upgrade. So I invite you to share it with anybody else who may be feeling high levels of confusion or overwhelm. Let them know they're not losing their mind. You're just finding your spirit. And if you've had times of forgetfulness or strange time distortions, which I talked about last week, let me know in the comments section. Let's talk about it, because we are always stronger together than we ever have been apart. So stay curious, stay open, and let the magic unfold around you. All right, everyone, take good care. I'll see you in the next teaching.